Hi, everybody. It's your old pal Chuck, and I am really excited to bring to you today from the Transformers Robots in Disguise line Warrior Class Drift. Now, these figures, well, I should say this wave, which is Drift and Optimus Prime, are starting to trickle out on the West Coast. I've heard Targets, maybe Toys R Us's soon, but they're here and they're hitting, and a lot of people are focusing on Prime. I think Drift is amazing, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. This is the best Robots in Disguise figure in the Warrior class we have thus far. And you know what? Forget it. This is the best Robots in Disguise figure we've had thus far, period, regardless of class. It is a fun transformation and just an awesome figure. Now, Drift is a fairly new character to the Transformers mythos. It was created about 7 years ago in the comics. Was introduced into the Generations toy line as sort of like a samurai figure, a reformed Decepticon. Used swords and all that. Some fans refer to him as a Mary Sue. Uh, but things kind of quieted down. Last year, Drift was a featured member on the Autobot team in the movie Age of Extinction and got quite a few toys, most of which were reviewed on this very channel. So now, here we have Drift for the 2015 Robots in Disguise cartoon. And I have to say, I am really digging this look, and I really wasn't sure about that. Now, I do want to mention, before we get too far in, that there was some transformation needed to be done when you remove them from the package, and it's basically the arms here. They have to be telescoped out so you can have functioning elbow joints. But Drift is just a fantastic, fantastic figure. We're going to get a close-up look in a minute because I want to really show you the head, but it's predominantly an orange color. I'm sure as you can see. There's ball joints here in the shoulders and a bunch of swivel and hinge joints. I mean, the articulation really isn't important. It's just that it's a fun figure to play with. And what's really nifty is there is storage here on the side for the swords. Now, I'm going to geek out a little because this is something I picked up off of Home Shopping Network one night. You are technically supposed to always scabbard the sword with the blade facing up. That's a symbol of respect. And it's actually supposed to pull the scabbard away from the blade, but there's really no scabbard there. And that's actually something I want to point out. These little skirt flaps are on hinges, so they can move out and allow for the legs rotation and movement. I just think that's incredible. So there's a long sword and a short sword. This is basically what they look like. It kind of looks to me that they're drawing a little from the G.I. Joe line and the various ninjas, and the swords fit quite nicely in Drift's hands. Um, Unfortunately, there isn't enough articulation to allow him to draw the sword, but one thing I think is really cool is there is a wrist joint right here that allows for some extra sword posing. Would have been nice if it tilted forward, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. So let's pause for a moment, and we're going to give you a close-up look at the head. And here's Drift's head. If you remember the original Generations toy, it was a much younger looking type of figure. Um, Drift from the Age of Extinction, it looked like he had a mask on, or more like a helmet type of face with that golden human-looking faceplate, which I know was a bit of a turnoff for some people, but I was kind of iffy on it myself. But this, first of all, this looks a little bit like Alpha Trion, I gotta say. But also, this gives you the sense of like an older grizzled warrior. You can see the accents of like having a Fu Manchu there on its chin. I mean, this is just an incredible sculpt. It has that, again, that traditional samurai helmet. It's a little softened for the cartoon, but a lot of the edges are still there, and it's just a really cool looking figure. And of course, there is the Autobot logo, and we'll just move on down, give you a closer look. There's the orange and all the detail, but really, the selling point of this figure is the head and the transformation. Okay, one of the selling points of the warrior class and robots in disguise is the simplified transformation, and they advertise it as having 7 steps. Well, you know how I feel about that, and the fact that I think sometimes they're fudging. And it's clearly obvious with Drift that they're actually combining steps to keep um, it within that minimum, because I think it also has to do with the packaging and how many, like having a limited space to fit the instructions on. Step 1 is going to be you're going to flip up the chest plate and cover up the face. Step 2 is you're going to come around from the behind, go ahead and flip up what was around the neck, and that will form the front of the car. Going to come down to the legs, and this is something that's kind of cool. The hip pieces here are actually, I should say not the hip, but the hood pieces actually fold up and plug in, and they form the heels of the foot. That's something kind of cool that I've never seen before. But speaking of the feet, you want to come in now and push those up into place. And yep, those joints are kind of tight, but hey, tight joints aren't a problem on a figure, just as long as you don't break it. Next, what you want to do is rotate the waist around. So now you have the what'll be the hood and such facing forward. Next, what you want to go ahead and do is line up the pegs and ports and just plug everything together, just like so. Give it a nice tight squeeze. Don't worry, like most Transformers, once you carry on with the transformation, things will fall into place. That was step 5. Step 6 is you want to go ahead and unpeg the hood and windshield and bring that forward. You'll see that there's this rear section that's going to swing into place, and now we're starting to get some movement here where you can see a car coming along. Now this is where things get a little funny, because step 7 is you're telescoping the arms in and then pushing them in to the side. Frankly, I think that's 2 steps. So first what you want to do is go ahead and telescope the arms up on the double joint. And there's a little peg and a slot so the arms will collapse up together. Do it again on this side. Let's see if I can show it to you. Right there where my finger is the slot, and there's a peg. So just collapse the arm up, just like so, and things will go in. Now, you're going to collapse the arms down and in. There's a tab here. There's a tab there on the arm and door that'll fit into slots. It's just one of these things where I recommend getting the top one in here. That'll help secure things, and then just go ahead, plug the second one in. Do repeat on the other side, of course, because you want an even looking car. And with all that said and done, you might have to fiddle a bit with the roof here. There's a section that likes to pop up a little. Make sure everything's popped in. And that one section likes to stay up. Okay, so like I said, just peg the arm in there. And then finally, what's not shown in the instructions is storage for the swords. If you come underneath, you'll notice on each side of what was the legs are these little tabs. There are slots in the handles of the sword, right there, that will fit in quite nicely, just like so. And I think this is fantastic because I'm a stickler of sorts for weapon storage. And what's interesting is either sword can peg in, but the tabs are on only one side, so you'll have the blades facing in one direction. And there you have drift and car mode. Make sure that's all pegged up securely. And the car rolls quite nicely for the most part. It is plastic wheels, so you can do some drift and stuff like that. Drift is a totally fun figure, and really one of the best Transformers I've put my hands on in recent time. I think this is a better figure than the Age of Extinction Deluxe, just because that one had a very fiddly car mode, and while there's some bits here, it's not nearly as bad. Plus, the swords are made of a much sturdier plastic and aren't comically oversized. Definitely, when Drift starts showing up in your neighborhood, this is worth a pickup. I'd even recommend the figure over Optimus Prime, and that's a really cool figure. Uh, Going forward, we really don't know what Drift is going to be like in the series. Something tells me, and this is just going by the overall look of the figure, it might be more like an older warrior instead of the young hotshot that it's been presented as in recent time. This is your old pal Chuck for Drift. We'll see you next time.